Jock Rougeau, it's an absolute pleasure. And can I just sing one line of your entrance music, please, sir, before we get going? He's the Mountie. He got under my skin when I was a kid, but he always got his man. There you go. There you go. Just brief. But yeah,
don't. Hi, Stewie. Don't quit your day job. Don't go into singing.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong there. Yeah, I'll stick to podcasting. That's yeah. I'm never going to say Jacques.
Fans out in the UK, I just want to shout out to all you guys and say thank you to Stewie, because you know what? I love this podcast, and remember, Stewie, the Mountie always gets his man.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time. Your host, Stu Palmer.
Well, it is episode 154 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast, all the way here from North Wales in the UK. And it is the fourth-time guest coming on the show. The first fourth-time guest on Stu's Wrestling Podcast. He's beaten Mad Dog Mike Angus. I'm sorry, Mike. You've been beaten to it again. It is my good pal from Savannah, Georgia, in the good old US of A. It's Mr. Mac Davis.
Stewie, how are you, brother?
All good, Matt. All good. Good to have you back on, my good pal from Georgia there. And Mac, how are things? How's things going?
Going great, man. Stewie, you would not believe since the last time we talked, how much I've been running. It's been nonstop crazy fun, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I see you're doing the same thing. You're doing all kinds of different podcasts and shows and things. I've seen the mental health stuff that you've been doing, which I thought was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Mac. It means a lot coming from you, because I know about your mental health years ago. I know I know how much you champion that and how it is. We've got to stay positive, haven't we, Mac?
Yes.
As hard as life gets, and things happen, don't they? But we're still here, aren't we? 10 toes above ground.
Yeah, I'm always the believer that when we're born, we have one job, and that one job is simply to survive. So every day, it's just another survival. Go get through another day, be blessed, and move on to the next one.
Absolutely. That's got to be the mindset. Absolutely with that. Now, we have got the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame again. I know you've been doing so much that the last couple of years, haven't you? And it's in Albany, New York. I'm going to fire the graphic up now. So, yeah, the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame on August 26th in Albany, New York.
It's going to be a lot of fun. This will be the third year that I've been there. I've been a part of the production team and hosting for the last 3 years, and I'm looking forward to doing it again this year. Should be a big night. Now, we start off with the Feast with the Beast. It's on Friday night, August 25th, from 4 to 6 p.m., and that'll be at the IPWHF Museum, and you can reserve your tickets if they're still available. I'm not sure that we still have tickets available for that, because it was a limited seating amount to do that. But the Feast with the Beast is having a feast with Dan the Beast Severn. And he tells great stories. Should be a fun time. A couple hours there right at the museum. And the museum, if you have not seen it, is absolutely fantastic. Make sure you stop by. If you don't have a chance to get there for the gala this year, stop by anytime during the year at MVP Arena, and I promise you, you'll enjoy yourself there at the Hall of Fame Museum. Now, it's not just that. We also have the Class of 2023 convention meet and greet, which will take place on Saturday, and that's from 11 until 2 at MVP Arena. And some of the attendees that will be there will include Greg Gagne, inducting his father later in the evening. Also, Tony Atlas, Doink the Clown, Ray Apollo will be there. Also, David LaGreca of Busted Open. I know, Stewie, you know David LaGreca.
I love Dave. I love Dave. Absolutely. What a man.
Dave he's done so much for the wrestling community, and it's time that somebody awards him something. And tonight, or that night of the gala, will be the event where we finally recognize David LaGreca for all the work that he's done in the world of professional wrestling. Also, as I mentioned, Dan the Beast Severn will be there, and the Nasty Boys, Knobs and Sags, will be there. And I'm hearing, now I don't know how much of this is true, but I'm hearing that J.J. Dillon has a special announcement that for me for something that he wants to gift me. I have no idea what that is. So I'm looking forward to that on that night as well. And I also understand that there could be a big uproar by the end of that night involving the Nasty Boys. We'll have to wait and see.
Someone's getting a pit stop, I think. Possibly.
I hope not.
somebody might be getting a pit stop. Oh my word! That used to get me when I was a youngster watching them too. I wouldn't want to be taking that. Brett's there as well. Oh my word! Oh,
yeah. Now a lot of the guys that you see on that poster right now. Now a lot of these guys are the ones who are getting inducted. Many of them who are not alive right now, and so they're not. These people will not be at the show. These are the people being inducted. The attendees are the ones that I mentioned a moment ago that'll be there. Greg Gagne will be there to induct his father, Vern Gagne. That will be our highlight of the night in our big main event. So we're looking forward to that. But some great names going into the class, as you just mentioned a minute ago. On that screen, you'll see June Byers, Dan McLeod, Dr. B.F. Roller, George Lurick, Tom Connors, Vern Gagne, as we mentioned a moment ago. Gorgeous George will be inducted as well. Mitsuhara Masawa will be put in there. Also, Bert Asarati, Bret Hart, Bob Backlund, Kiji Muto, or the Great Muta, and Kenta Kobashi, all going into the this year's Hall of Fame.
Something for everybody there, isn't there? You look at the litany of people, the amount of years, you can go right back, and there's something for everybody, isn't there? In terms of, age, the age of fans and things like that. Fantastic. Yep. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Wish I could go to it.
I wish you were there too, because we're going to have a lot of fun. I know Bill Apter and I, legendary pro wrestling journalist Bill Apter, we have sat down and kind of figured out the show for the evening, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I think the people who will be attending this will enjoy themselves. Should be a really, really good time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Again, Mac, I've got to speak to you about obviously the two shows you've been doing for quite a while now. Obviously, I'm going to speak about you and Teddy doing Road Trip After Hours. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I've had some questions answered on the show before now. Teddy, I think thinks, why has he asked that? I think sometimes, but with Teddy, I find he's going to tell you how it is, isn't he? He'll give you the truth on an answer. But yeah, I've loved the show. I've loved the stuff you've done on the road as well, especially SummerSlam last year, when the extra things going on. So yeah, just how's it been being with Teddy?
It's been fantastic. Teddy and I, we got together while working for an independent organization, and we sat around just talking. We had known each other for years, but we sat around talking and realized some of the stuff that we were talking about would make for a great podcast, and that we got along so well. Teddy and I, you know how you come across somebody and you just click. There's just something. It works. For whatever reason, it just works. And Teddy and I, that's where we are. We just click and we have a good time. We're very similar in our beliefs and wrestling and stuff. So we do tend to kind of go after certain things that drive us crazy. But at the same time, we're just there to have a good time, talk about the world of professional wrestling and life in general. And Teddy is just something else. If you haven't had a chance to see the show, I encourage you to do so. It's not your average podcast. We do some things within the podcast that are a little bit different. We'll do commercial breaks. They're not always real commercials. They're just kind of fun. And we have a lot of oddball things that Teddy and I might do. But it's a really fun show. It's one of the best shows I think I have been involved with in many years. And it's just something that I look forward to every single week.
I just wonder, like, has he ever had a question? He's pulled me up on my question. I think he said it was a good question. Has he ever had some questions that have irked him, where you thought, "Well, this has pushed him a little bit"? This one.
He does not care for the ones where they give you like a list of names and then, like, okay, tell me what you know about this person. He doesn't like doing the just like name association. That's what I'm thinking of. He hates name association. He did in the beginning. Let me put it that way. In the beginning, he hated that. Now he enjoys it because he realizes this is fun. I like talking about these guys. So now he's gotten into it. There's really not much that gets Teddy upset unless it's something about the business that is just so wrong that he feels a need to speak out.
I wonder, like this, like with modern stuff. I think he still, I think he gets it, doesn't he, with AEW and WWE and what they're trying to do. I mean, he works so many facets of the business, so he does know it. You know what I mean? He's done so much. But yeah, modern stuff, I think he's quite constructive. You know, where a lot of older guys, they're not big fans. They're not big fans of the modern product, are they? It's just how they're conditioned. They like old school wrestling, maybe.
You know, you're right. Teddy is one of the few of the older guys that I know that has allowed himself to understand the evolvement of the wrestling, world now. It's changed. And Teddy is okay with that. Teddy understands that things change and he changes with the times. Because it's the only way to survive in this business. Wrestling today is really nothing like what Teddy and I grew up with. It's much different now, more entertainment, less sport, but it's still wrestling. It's just you have to learn how to change with the times. And Teddy and I are trying to do that as we, do our shows. We try to understand certain things that take place on TV. Here's a great example. Orange Cassidy on AEW. Now, back when I was young, if you had seen Orange Cassidy on your TV program, you would have thought, who is this skinny, Jerry Lewis looking guy out here trying to, take on these big old guys? And he has this orange punch, which will knock people out. A lot of that's very hard to understand. But when you allow yourself to be open to the changes of wrestling, you see the entertainment value. And again, as Teddy will say all the time, wrestling is now entertainment.
It's changed. And you know what? My whole psyche's changed with him because I did not get it. Like a lot of people, I sound like a broken record, really, because a lot of people said, but I felt the same way. I wasn't getting it. And look how many defenses he's made of the international title now. Unbelievable what they've done with him. And he's had so many defenses. I know it's like a weekly title. My whole psyche's changed with Orange Cassidy, Mac. It really has. I've got to say, I've had to eat humble pie a little bit.
Well, you got to almost. I mean, when you watch AEW, and people will give me hell all the time because they think I'm a WWE shill, that I only watch WWE. That's not true. I actually enjoy AEW, but I do see things within the program that drive me absolutely freaking nuts. Whether it's the referees and some of the rules they have, the 20 count on the outside, or any of these crazy things. Those things do drive me crazy, but only because I know that AEW can be far better than they are right now. If they tighten up some of these screws, hey, this show has got a chance to be something else. I mean, look what they've done in Wembley Stadium. I mean, they have sold that place out and beat the record of WrestleMania many, many years ago. Not all Americans, I just want to come back to that. And I've said it. I think sometimes when I type stuff, people get the wrong end of the stick. So people say, not all Americans said it wouldn't have sold, more than 40, 50,000, but a lot of people, I told them, Mac, I said, it's going to be upwards of 70,000. Yes.
And lo and behold, look what's happened.
I've learned that when it comes to AEW and Tony, if Tony Khan decides that he wants to have a success somewhere, Tony Khan will have a success. He's one of those guys that he's going to do whatever it takes to make it the biggest and best property that he has. And I believe that he's going to come through with that. I believe that we're not just going to see the UK. I think we're going to see a lot of travel outside in the international area with AEW. And I think they're going to do extremely well.
Do you think the American market has changed now? I know they went into Puerto Rico. Backlash, you could probably say Backlash had the best crowd of the year. 15, 20,000 in that stadium arena, and it felt like double the amount. I've got to say that's going to be hard to beat, the atmosphere in there. And obviously Saudi Arabia, that's been an ongoing thing, hasn't it? Been doing it for a while. What do you think about the American market now? Do you think it's just moved on and there's not much, love for wrestling over there as there was?
I think that it's still there. I think that people got a little upset with AEW when the CM Punk and Young Bucks thing went down. The disagreements they were having and still have apparently to this day. I think that a lot of American fans kind of got upset. They split camps, when it came to AEW, especially. You were either Young Bucks camp or you were CM Punk camp. Now, the problem with that for AEW is that you don't want to split your audience. You're trying to build an audience, not split your audience. So if let's say you had 800,000 people viewing your show on a Wednesday night, and then suddenly CM Punk and the Bucks go at it, and now you split that audience, you're only getting $400,000 to $600,000 people watching per week. You've cut your audience. You've gained a show, but you cut your audience. Mm-hmm. They've got to learn how to combine those two audiences again so that they don't see each other as competition, but as only as competition to WWE. Right now, they're in competition with themselves, and that's a mistake on AEW's part.
Absolutely. Sorry, I just want to cross over here. Isaac, my good friend from Norwich, where the Knight family are from, obviously Paige, Soraya. Yes. So he's from that neck of the woods. Isaac's a big combat sports fan, so he's watching us. He's watching us in Norwich, Mark. So
Isaac, it's good to have you here, brother. Also, I see Justin Clapper has stopped by as well.
Absolutely. Great watch, gentlemen. And I know when he heard that Vern was getting inducted by Greg Gagne, I know a certain AWA fan was very excited because he grew up on AWA where he was living.
That was great wrestling too. Look, Justin had a chance to catch some of the really good stuff. A lot of our biggest stars came from the AWA, and I don't think people understand that. Some of the biggest stars came from there. And having Vern Gagne go into the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame at the end of this month is going to be something special.
Absolutely. Going back to All In, Mark, I was only speaking to my friend the other day. He's a big fan of AW. WWE still watches it all. And we're going to Wembley. We're all going. And he just said, why is All Out the following week? And I do think they've made a mistake, in my personal opinion. Why didn't they just let it breathe a little bit, have the show? The fact that it's the week after, what do you feel with that? I'd like to ask you that. I'd like to, you've been in the business for so many years.
I was really surprised by that move. Now, again, as I've said, Tony has a tendency to always be successful. And maybe he knows more than we do. Mm-hmm. But from, the traditional standpoint, I don't see the reason of having two pay-per-views that close to each other. I really don't. And I think that maybe you could be hurting the card in the UK. You may be sold out, but your card is a little bit light looking right now. And I think that's because they're trying to save some matches for the other pay-per-view. That's where I have a problem with them being so close to each other, because I really believe that the show in the UK needs to be their WrestleMania right now. It needs to make a major impact with some of the best matches we have ever seen. Not so sure we're getting that right now.
Do you think, in terms of announcing the matches, do you think they based it off how many tickets were sold in advance, that they've delayed it? Would that be in his psyche, or am I in the wrong ballpark there with that? Because they'd sold so many in such a short space of time. I mean, it was 65,000 over the first week, wasn't it? Do you think that bears a factor into it, that he's left match announcements, or has that got nothing to do with it in your mind?
I think that they were probably testing the waters a little bit when they made the announcement, and they got a great response. And then there was no need. When you're selling tickets that fast, you don't really need to announce your card, because you're already selling your tickets. You could have a night full of jobbers in the ring and you've already got your money, so you don't care. But again, it goes back to what I said a minute ago. I think that they need to treat this show as a WrestleMania type of program, make it one of their biggest and their best. And I'm not seeing that when it comes to the card. The card is it looks okay in some places, but it's not what I was expecting. I think that when it comes to the UK, it needs to be CM Punk versus one of the Young Bucks or Hangman Page, somebody like that. It needs to be a major match that fans want to see. And fans do want to see CM Punk intertwine with the Young Bucks and Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, those guys, because they know the history and they believe in that history. It's real heat, and real heat usually brings real ratings.
What about, I think they've dropped the bollock, as we would say in the UK, not having Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega the third match. I know the storylines have moved on. I know they've gone in, taken on Callis and the Blackpool Combat Club, and all that's been gone. I think they've made a big mistake. I truly believe it. I think that should have been the rubber match at Wembley. How do you feel about that?
I agree. I totally agree with you. It's one of those things that's it's a head scratcher. Again, I'm not sure who's doing the booking of the matches for Wembley, but they need to relook at some of these matches. They still have time. They can take some of the matches, rearrange them through storylines on TV between now and then, but something needs to happen because, like I said, some of these matches are just kind of they're there. And you're right, when you have people like Ospreay out there, why is he not with Kenny Omega on this card? Why is that not one of the biggest matches on the card? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but it's one of those things. I think that's where AEW hurts the most is in their booking. I don't think they have a clear idea of long-term booking. If they do, I just don't see it. I see like a weekly, let's get to this and let's get to this and let's get to this without thinking, okay, 6 months from now, where do we want to be? They've got to treat that program like that. They got to start thinking way in advance so they can tell stories better than they're telling now.
Absolutely. Do you know what, Mike? I can't wait to be there a week on Sunday. This has been a long time coming for me. 31 years since SummerSlam 1992. I've been waiting for him to pull the trigger on this. I tell you, he stated that they were going to come here, and it was like, when's this going to happen? Because it was like, right, we're now 3.5 years in now, and lo and behold, he has done it. And a lot of people felt it was going to be at Fulham Football Club, soccer club, obviously, who they own, which is Craven Cottage is a damn sight smaller. A lot of people were like crazy about Wembley being chosen because of the sheer size of it. But my word, look what they've done.
Let me ask you something, Stewie. I'm curious. This happens all the time when you and I talk, so we'll ask each other questions because we're both interviewers.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious, what is it like in the UK? Are people more excited about AEW or WWE?
Just WWE obviously doing Money in the Bank last month and having SmackDown and all that going on there. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But again, 20,000 people. They could have done it somewhere bigger if they really wanted to. I think that the price of the tickets have gone ridiculous in terms of WWE. The only reason I say this, Mac, you're a businessman. The way I look at it, surely with all the broadcast deals they've got in place now and all that, do they necessarily need is the ticket revenue enough? Does it really matter when you're getting huge, pockets of money from like the likes of USA, Fox? I don't understand why the tickets are so expensive, Matt.
Well, it's because they're a publicly traded company, and the investors and stockholders want to see revenue. And they want to see as much money as they can. It comes down to business and greed. That's the best way to say it. They want all the money they can possibly get. I agree. The ticket prices have gone way, way out of reach of the average person. And your average wrestling fan doesn't have that kind of money. You have to be somebody really special to sit ringside at one of those matches, because if I'm not mistaken, you pay thousands of dollars for those seats. If you want to take your kids to go see a wrestling show, do you want to spend that much money just to go watch, 4 hours of wrestling?
It's crazy. And do you know what? A lot of people I know who I can't believe the amount of people that are still collecting things and all that. It's their life. I've never been a collector. I haven't either. Getting photos of the guys. I'm sure we've said about this in the previous 3 episodes, but there's people out there, they're on the bread line, so to speak. And any extra money they've got, it goes into pro wrestling, and testament to them, and the collections they've amassed.
I'm amazed when we have the get together, the conventions and the fan fest, and you see what people spend to get pictures, autographs, videos, and things like that. And I remember sitting at a table. I was sitting there with it was Teddy, Ron Simmons, Scott, and Rick Steiner. And we're at the table, and I'm watching them work the table. Ron Simmons could sell ice to an Eskimo. He is a blast to watch when it comes to dealing with the different fans who come up, because you have some who come up and they'll pay face price for something. And then you'll have others come up going, I don't have any money. I didn't come here with any cash. and they'll tell that story to Ron Simmons, but by the time they leave, they've spent $300 buying different things with the money they said they didn't have that Ron knew they had, and he got every penny out of their pocket. He's incredible to watch. He's also so much fun to hang around.
Absolutely.
Ron is one of the guys of wrestling.
I had the pleasure in Dallas in 2016 at WrestleCon. Money was that was it, Mark. I was on a flow, man, and he was fantastic. He was lovely. You know, it's busy for them. They're trying to get through everybody. They want to give you your bang for your buck as well, don't they? The guys, to be fair to them, it gets busy. There's a lot of people at these things, you know.
Yeah, and they'll come up with you'll see guys come up with just tons of stuff to sign, which they don't mind signing, but the truth is they also think they can talk for 30 minutes while they're doing this, and there are people behind them. And all these guys are trying, like you say, they're trying to be nice and spend quality time with them while they're, buying their stuff, but they don't have all day. They've got to keep that line moving because that's how they make their money. And a lot of times these guys are either getting a guarantee or they're splitting, the table with the promoter. So they've got to push these people in and out. So never take it personal if they kind of move you on. It's just simply business, and they've got to keep going.
How were the Steiners? Just going back to them.
Steiners are, I watched them come in the morning. I think it was SummerSlam last year. And they came in the morning at the table, and they have boiled eggs and all these little snacks and stuff. They prepare food when they come to these things. They don't buy it at the concession stands. They make their own little food and bring it out. And they're sitting there eating raw eggs and stuff. Like, oh, God. And I'm thinking by the end of the day, I can't sit next to these guys because I know what's going to happen with all these eggs. So
Scott was another one. I was absolutely bricking it. It was San Jose, San Francisco the year before. I was bricking it before meeting him because you hear so many things. How he is, how he was. Blah, blah, blah. He was so nice. He was so nice. He was brilliant with me. I was panicking before going up to me. He shook my hand. We had a little chat. He was not how I expected him to be. He was lovely. He was such a nice man.
Yeah, Scott is when he comes into independent wrestling, I've seen him on several shows in independent wrestling. And every time he comes in, the guys are scared to death to talk to him because they think he's going to whoop their ass. He can be a little cranky when he wants to be, but I've never had that problem with Scott. Scott's always been nice to me. In fact, the very first time I met Scott, he came over and introduced himself. He goes, "Hey, how you doing?" and said, "Hey" to me. And it was like all the guys were going, "Oh, you know him. That's why he was nice to you." I just met him. I just met him.
I was in the same position.
But if you don't piss him off, he's a friend. Yeah. If you piss him off, you better get out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Old school, man. Unbelievable. But yeah, they're great. I do miss that side of it. WrestleCon. I miss the Hall of Fame as well. Going to the Hall of Fame. I miss it, Mark. I truly, truly do. I will get back over there.
I hope so, because I saw your one of your buds last year for WrestleMania. Mr. Angus, who I've met four times here, bud. Four times, Mike.
Absolutely. And then a video from Hollywood from Jeannie from Mike. I loved it. I was just like, I wake up the next morning. Obviously, you're on California time. So what's this? What's he sent? It was Jeannie. It was a message from Jeannie. Bless her. So yeah, I know Mike has such a good time. And
it was fun to meet him too, because I had never met him in person, so it was nice to meet him, and I got to meet some of the guys that came with him. I believe Kat was there too, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember what her full name is, Kat something. But she was a beautiful girl, and nice to meet her too. I like meeting people from across the pond because their views on wrestling are so much different than what I'm used to hearing from Americans. So it's good to hear that. I like to hear, what's hot where you are, who's really, ringing the bell for a lot of people in your area. By the way, who is that? Who is the big person when you come over to the UK? Who is everybody crazy about?
Over here now, there's so many, Mac. There's so many. It's hard to. I'm trying to think. Cara Noir, who's done a lot with Progress. His whole gimmick was good. Spike Trevay, they had like a battle. They had all sorts going on. I think they ended up in a Hell in a Cell or a cage match. Mike could be able to tell you a bit more. They had a hell of a rivalry, and it was like, Cara Noir was going to go, but he's like this character, Cara Noir. He's got makeup on and stuff like that. He's very, very different. Obviously, Ricky Knight Jr. the Knight families, one of the kids, one of the younger ones.
That was Soraya's younger brother or older brother, right?
Nephew it is. Ricky Knight, and obviously he's done a lot with Will Ospreay. Yep. When Will Ospreay's been over here for Rev Pro, I know obviously he's doing more with New Japan and AEW, but when they do get him over here, like Ricky Knight Jr. is superb, absolutely fantastic. I could name about 20 guys, Matt. I really could. It's just different. It's just different, which, that's what makes it great. But they can have great matches with the Americans and vice versa. You can have a different type of match, can't you?
Do you find that the wrestling in the UK is a little more physical than the American?
I'd say the stiffness, because they're so known for that. Yeah. From what I can gather from the talent, it's like the strong style, isn't it? British strong style. It's still prevalent,
and which is what I prefer. When I was in independent wrestling, a lot of people, I like to be very snug. I like it to kind of lay it in a little bit, because I'm of the belief that if you whiff by a guy's face, fans are going to see it. They're not going to buy it. You got to make contact. You got to be able to take some of this in the ring. And nowadays, a lot of guys don't like taking that in the ring. They're like, no, don't hit me now. Don't ruin my pretty face. Screw you. This is wrestling. If you get a black eye in this and it's an accident, it's an accident. Get over it. Fans will believe it, and it'll help tell the story.
A lad's come over. He's been on New Japan recently. He's been doing their like the light heavyweight division. Their lighter guys. Dan Maloney, who was extensively booked over here. He was cutting promos on New Japan. Like subtitle and all that. He's fantastic. I think he was like light. It's like the light heavyweight. Going in there, the juniors that size. He's done brilliant. I try to watch bits of everything. It's hard because there's so many promotions, Mac. So I try and dip in and out. I always say to Mike, I try and watch Progress when I can. It's just hard to fit everything in. You know the score. It's just there's just so much. There's just so much for us.
Over here in the States, we hear that in the UK that AEW has more of a presence than WWE. Is that true?
I'll tell you the reason why. ITV, which is one of the biggest broadcasters over here. Obviously, everyone can get ITV on Freeview, which is like a cable satellite thing that we've got here. It reaches more people, obviously, because BT TNT now you have to subscribe. You pay a monthly subscription to get the content. ITV is they've got advertising revenue, so you don't have to pay to view it. Although we've got a TV license that we pay for BBC, so it's more readily available. ITV,
So that's why the popularity with AEW.
I'm not knocking them at all, because they've done fantastic. They are doing the numbers, and he's very happy with the numbers. It's Tony. You've got it. It's got to be good, otherwise people won't watch it. So it has got it. It does make life easier that ITV is more readily available for people. You don't have. There's no subscription cost to it. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, TV has changed so much in the last few years. Ever since COVID. The traditional TV delivery system changed. Everything went to the apps, and everybody's watching everything on their phones now, and then sending it from their phone to their TV. And in fact, I just canceled my DirecTV yesterday. I sat there and I was looking at my bill, $220 a month for my DirecTV subscription. I have no idea. I never watch it anymore. Why am I paying that much money when I got everything on an app? And if you want to, if you want to buy what you want, it's only $10, $20, and it's not $200. So I don't even know how DirecTV remains in business at this point.
Sky are terrible. When you're like coming up to contract, they like say your 12, 18-month contract's running out, they hike it. You have to phone up to then cut the prices down.
Doesn't that drive you crazy? Every time you have to renew, you got to call them up and go, I'm going to pay the same thing. I ain't paying twice as much.
Just honor the price, It has. You're all right. It's totally changed. Which, I know the BBC are trying to change people not paying the license fee, and you'd pay a subscription. But they're trying to work out how much it's going to be per household, because they said it's going to cost them a lot more that way. So they're trying to work out, because less people are watching BBC content live.
Oh, yeah.
It's changed.
You don't see many people watching live TV anymore. Not live TV. They're not watching cable or satellite TV anymore. Live programming still gets over. That's the reason why wrestling does so well, because people like to watch things live. They don't want to watch it. Like right now, we're doing this live. This is not recorded at the time that we're doing it right now. And people prefer to see it live because they never know what might happen. I might say, and then people go,
which you can on this show, not a problem. Absolutely.
I try to watch my mouth a little bit. It's early in the morning. It's too early to start cussing you.
I just wonder the way it's going to go. Do you know what else gets on my nerves a little bit? Why can't they take the viewership from the apps? So how many people are watching it on Fight TV?
Yep.
They're only taking it from the broadcasters. It's not a true reflection of the numbers. And how many people are watching it? Right. So surely they can obtain the numbers through the internet. There's got to be a way, surely. I don't know the technical side of it, but it annoys me. We're not getting the true numbers. We're not getting true numbers, really.
You know as well as I do that we can keep up with our podcast numbers, and we know we know the views on Twitter, the views on Facebook. You have to combine those numbers to get the true feel of what your audience is. And you're right. TV now, and when you look at the ratings, people go, "Oh, the ratings suck. They're so far below what they used to be 20 years ago." Yeah. But at the same time, we didn't have social media 20 years ago. Now you have to include those numbers, I believe, to get a true factor of what, who's watching what and what they're watching.
Absolutely. Like WWE, I'm not paying for TNT. There's just no way. Obviously, they've took over. Obviously, Turner's come in now. BT have gone in with them. And it's ridiculous how much they want a month. The network, all that content should be on the network the week of, not 3-4 weeks after.
I agree.
Pay a little bit more. The fans will pay an extra $5 to have it live. Just streamline it. I know they've got big contracts with Fox and USA. I understand that, but
hey, I'm hearing Fox may not be a partner of WWE much longer.
Wow.
I'm hearing that they're saying no, we're not going to pay the money that we paid before. We got to renegotiate, and if they're going to renegotiate, Vince is going to renegotiate with somebody else for a better price. I can't see him taking less.
It's crazy. I've never understood it. Just like people will pay extras to get Raw and SmackDown. Live or, pretty much like the day after.
It's the only reason I have Peacock here in the States. I have Peacock. And the only reason I have Peacock is because of WWE. I get to watch all their pay-per-views for $10 a month.
It's no brainer, isn't it?
I can't beat that.
when it's how much through the satellite cable provider.
Oh yeah, if you go to AEW, man, you could pay $50, $75 for a pay-per-view. Woo!
We still don't pay what you pay, with ours, whether it be boxing or anything like where it's $80 over there. We're paying like £30 sterling, which is like $20-$25. So
heck, I need to hook up with you.
we think we're bad off because we used to get it all free, but we still don't pay what you guys pay. Mac, I want to move on because I've got to speak about Bill Apter as well and your other show, which I absolutely love, The Wrestling Time Machine with Bill Apter, Teddy Long, and yourself. I love the show. I love it. It's about obviously stuff currently as well, isn't it? And it's been absolutely brilliant, man.
It's I get to do a show with my two best friends every week. That's what that show is. Two of my best friends in this business. We have, and this happened by chance, to be honest with you. Teddy and I started a show on Sportskeeda and Sportskeeda Wrestling, and we started a show called One on One. After a couple of weeks, Bill Apter saw the show. He was already with Sportskeeda, and he's like, "Guys, I got to get on the show with y'all. We'll have a lot of fun." And we have ever since. It's three of us all talking about our different views on wrestling. Teddy's and mine tend to be more alike. Bill's can be a little more conservative at times because he's, still old school, which is no problem with that at all. Because I think you got to have that mix. You got to mix that old school with the new school to get what is out today. And but so I get to spend 30 minutes every week sitting down with my two best friends. Couldn't ask for a better podcast.
Bill, I'm going to say it again. He came to me. I don't know. It's just the 100th episode was meant to be with him, and I couldn't get him. I know he's busy, and he's got to do later and stuff like that. And he messaged me probably about 3-4 weeks after. What happened to episode 100 of me? It just didn't happen, and I felt terrible. So I've still got to get him. We're 4 years later, Mac. I've got to get Bill.
You still haven't gotten Bill yet?
No, because it's like he's like, it'd have to be like, I don't know, 9 p.m. there. So obviously it's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. here. So I totally understand. He's busy.
Yeah.
I know, but I will get him. He will be coming on. I will get him.
Bill is one of those, you can't get Bill, as he said. Usually it's got to be in the evening because he works full time, during the week. So, that's his problem right there. It's hard to get away, but so yeah, we actually record our shows in the evening. Teddy and I wait until he gets home, then we record. But he is so much fun. He has opened the doors for me, him and Teddy, in the wrestling business more than I can tell you. Having somebody watch my back and make sure that I'm making the right choices and talking to the right people. That's nice. It's nice having a support system, and both Bill and Teddy support everything that I do. Teddy goes out of his way making calls and contacts for people for me. Bill does the same thing. It's not something they have to do. It's something they choose to do, and I never forget that. Never forget that.
That's priceless, Mac, isn't it? That. Unbelievable. Yeah, I love that. I love both shows, of course, but I like the 30-minute. I like the 30 minutes because you pack it all in. You all put your points across.
I caught hell for that, Stewie. They wanted a 2-hour show.
2 hours.
Yeah. And I kept saying, guys,
yeah.
I can't listen to 2 hours. And the trends show nobody listens to 2 hours. They might listen to bits and pieces that are, taken out of that 2 hours, but they're not going to sit there for 2 hours listening to a podcast in most cases. And my deal was I want it between 15 and 30 minutes, no more than 30 minutes. 15 to 20. I like to get into that second quarter hour. I want to cross over, maybe get into about 20 minutes so I can get the second quarter hour numbers as well and go from there. And that's what we do. We usually try to hit it right around 20 to 30 because we know that we'll get 2 quarter hours out of that.
I just love Bill. I just love the whole thing. She's moved with the times. The respect across the business, man. It's palpable, isn't it? You just know he's such a kind-hearted man. Went about everything the right way, in the right manner. We hear about guys, don't we? Just he's beloved. He's beloved, Mac, and that's a rarity in pro wrestling, isn't it?
Yeah, and you won't see anybody talk bad about Bill Apter. Now, I heard somebody recently. I won't say who, but there was a large name professional wrestler that has some unkind things to say about Bill Apter. And when I heard about it, I got furious. I simply said, if I hear this, or if this comes to my attention publicly, I'm going to speak publicly on this person and I will rip them a new asshole. Bill is one of the kindest, most gentle people in wrestling. And if you have a problem with Bill, you got a problem with me and a lot of other people, because Bill, as we all know, is an icon in this business. He deserves to be recognized in this business. And if there's anybody that's involved in the world of journalism for professional wrestling that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame like the WWE, it's Bill Apter.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what as well. I listened to his book on Audible. And,
yes.
Do you know what I found really interesting? When he was working for WOW magazine, and obviously WWE weren't too happy about it, were they? But he had the guys were coming to him. They wanted
oh yeah, they wanted their picture in there.
Listening to the inner workings of it, and how WOW came in, didn't they? I remember we could get the magazine here as well. They distributed it over here, but just the inner workings of it and his life and just stuff you wouldn't necessarily know about. I just loved it. I loved listening to it on Audible. It was fantastic. So
I told Bill before, I got his book first and I read his book, and he sent me the CD so I could listen to the audio version. The audio version is so good to listen to. If you go to buy Bill's book, which is Wrestling Fixed? I didn't know it was broken. That's the name of it. But if you go out and buy that book, get the audio version. Like Stewie is saying, hearing Bill tell these stories himself is so much better than reading the book to me, because you feel what he is talking about, and it's a great listen.
I loved it, like the stuff with Macho Man and that. Macho Man had a bit of a funny one with him, but they got past it, didn't they?
Yep.
It's just crazy what he had to deal with. Just the way the business
with all those personalities that he would tell me stories about. he'd have guys going, "Why am I not on the cover of the magazine this month? Why?" They get mad at him because they thought he controlled that. He took the pictures. He wrote some stories. That's all he did. He had it wasn't anything to do with his job to determine where they would be placed in the magazine, and he would catch hell for it all the time. He actually caught a lot of hell when they started showing the women's apartment matches that they were doing back then. And it was kind of a scandalous thing, and the magazine was running it, but the professional wrestlers were having nothing to do with it. They didn't like it. They wanted it out of the magazine. They thought it made it look bad. And so Bill caught hell for that too for many years.
Love it. Just love it. Just like going back to it as well, the audio, the delivery, it's just everything about it. He's class personified. Now, Mac, I'm going to move on. Now, I made a bit of a faux pas before we went on live and we were just chatting prior, because I put a graphic up, which I wasn't meant to do. Slip of the finger. My coordination isn't the best, but I'm just going to fire it. I'm going to fire some photos up. Okay. So the first one is, and I want your thoughts on this man, the Tribal Chief, and his run with the title. I know you've obviously covered this on the shows as well. I know you've spoken about it, but yeah, for my listeners to hear as well, just your thoughts on the Tribal Chief and the run that he has had. How do you feel about it?
I never saw Roman hitting the level that he's at now. Early on, Roman, when he was with the Shield, was very good. Then he got kind of lost for a while, and I kept thinking, nah, it's just not going to work. The fans aren't buying it. They got into the Bloodline storyline, and man, he has executed everything perfectly. This entire story, Paul, Jay, Jimmy, just the entire story. I wish I knew who came up with this and who's writing these stories, because they deserve an Emmy. And I've said this before on our show. Wrestling doesn't get its due when it comes to Hollywood and the stories that they tell. And a lot of times I feel that stories like the Bloodline over the last couple of years firmly deserve an award of some type for what they've done. This is watching Roman Reigns reach the levels he has. I love to see it. I love to see another star maker, kind of like The Rock. I can see him going to Hollywood and doing very well. And I think he will be our next big superstar in Hollywood. I really do.
I can't believe the length of time. I like yourself. It was just getting him there, and Heyman. Yep. It's worked so perfectly. I mean, they've swerved it, haven't they? Because he went back with Brock, Heyman, and all that. They've done so many different things.
Yeah.
I felt the bit with Sammy. I know they needed to get into WrestleMania and all, have the big crescendo, and they had the Rumble and stuff. I wanted that to be longer. I wanted that to be longer with Sammy, but I understand you coming into the biggest show of the year, just the way it's all falling. I loved it with Sammy. Absolutely. Everything from him being in there. And then obviously now with Kevin, just unbelievable. Like
did you want to see Sammy beat Roman? Is that what did you want to see that happen?
Well, I think it was always in the back of my mind there. Yeah. But then it was just, he was beating Brock. He'd beaten Brock, and then Cody was the one. I really, really felt like everybody that he was going to get it. But hopefully it's going to lead into Philadelphia maybe, and that'll be when Cody does get the title. But I was gutted for Cody, but it's the bigger picture, isn't it?
My biggest problem with the storyline was with Sammy. I felt like Sammy, he got him to WrestleMania, and I mean he and Roman got themselves to WrestleMania. They did a great job. But after WrestleMania, I feel like they just forgot Sammy. I feel like that he just took a complete turn away from the Bloodline, and I hated that. I liked the Sammy storyline and the Bloodline and Jay, and I think there could have been more done with that than what they had done. Currently, I feel like we're going to see maybe not so. I don't know that we're going to see the same product for the next few months leading up to WrestleMania. I think it's going to be a lull. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. There'll be a lull in the action because I don't see that story really having as much steam as it had within the last 2 years. It feels like it's starting to slow down a little bit. Even Teddy has made a comment. He feels like it's slowing down. So we might see some changes. And that might be when Cody comes in finally at WrestleMania and takes that belt off of Roman Reigns. And I hope that's the case.
I think as well, obviously with Elimination Chamber was in Montreal, wasn't it? If my memory serves, so it was just how it was pieced together. It's like, well, Sammy, they're going to have to do it. It's Montreal. It's just how it was all pieced, wasn't it? I think timing, all that, just amazing.
Now I'll tell you a piece of news that I just saw this morning, and I hope it's not true. Nick Aldis, who has been with the NWA, had the big matches with Cody during the NWA days and going into All In, the original All In. And they're talking about putting him in the back and having him just as a trainer or producer of matches and not being on TV. I think that's a major mistake. When you have Cody Rhodes there, who's trying to tell a story on his way to dethrone Roman Reigns, what better than having Nick Aldis come out and say, you know what? We've had 2 matches. I'm waiting for my 3rd and final rubber match, and this time I've got you. What a great story that would be leading up. Even if Nick doesn't win, still you give Cody somebody to go through with a great story before you get to Roman Reigns. So hopefully Nick Aldis isn't going to be behind the scenes, but will be in front of the camera as well. If not, it's a big loss for WWE because there are plenty of fans who came back into the business simply because of Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes when they ran that feud a couple years ago. That made a huge difference in the wrestling community.
£10 of gold, man. It was like the glory days of the NWA, wasn't it? Obviously, I know we know that. I'm only stating the obvious, what a waste that'd be. He's younger than me. I forget sometimes,
Oh yeah.
These guys are younger than me, and I'm 37. I think he's a year younger.
They're a lot younger than I am too.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to age you in the process there, man.
That's right. I'm 60 years old, and I don't mind saying that. And look here, 60 years old doesn't mean I can't work. So anybody out there, if you need somebody to come to one of your shows, whether as it could be an announcer, it can be as the general manager for the evening. If you want me and Teddy to come, all you got to do is reach out and call me and let me know. I'm more than happy to be part of these programs. But when it comes to WWE and AEW, I've got something to offer. You just need to pick up the telephone, call me, or contact me. I promise you, I'll make you some money.
Give you some promo time and give you.
Yeah, brother.
I tell you, Mate, it'd be really, really good. Right, I'm going to move on. To this man.
Okay.
Love
The Undertaker. There will never be anybody like The Undertaker, ever. And I think it's because, and I've said this before, Bray Wyatt doesn't work as well as The Undertaker because he got too far out there with the hocus pocus and stuff like that. The only person who could pull that off in as far as I'm concerned, was The Undertaker. The Undertaker came up through a time when fans would allow themselves to believe some of the, the mystical stuff of The Undertaker and things that would happen. And he was one of a kind. I think he needs to remain one of a kind, because when you get people like Bray Wyatt, who are trying to kind of take the place of an Undertaker in a way, as far as the persona, I just don't think Bray needs to go there. Bray needs to be the crazy Louisiana guy who he's just nuts. He's one of these guys you're not sure that wouldn't hurt you if you met him on the road. That's who Bray Wyatt needs to be. He doesn't need to be another Undertaker. And when they quit trying to make him as an Undertaker and all these, hocus pocus things, I think he'll make a great living. But there will never be another man like The Undertaker.
Gary Palmer's favorite talent of all time. Let me tell you, my dad's favorite, along with the natural disasters. He loved typhoon and earthquake. He loved them when I was growing up.
Oh, I got to tell you, Stewie, did you get a chance to see the video I did with Shockmaster?
I'm sure I have. Yeah.
Teddy and I were at a convention, and I was playing Jenga with Teddy Long. And I'm trying to pull out, Jenga is one of these games where you have wood blocks. I
know it well.
Yeah.
I know it well.
So I'm pulling out the very first block. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, somebody hits me from behind, not on purpose, but just kind of runs into me, knocks the whole thing over. Who other than the Shockmaster, busting through and causing a problem. He was a blast to work with. He's such a nice guy. Fred is one of those guys. Fred, if you're watching, I love you, brother. I love the attitude. I love the positivity that comes out of him. And as well as I do, Stu, you and I are big on positivity. I love positive environments and positive people because that's the kind of life I like to live. I like to be positive. And Fred, or the Shockmaster, is one of those guys. He is super, super nice. You will never meet anybody nicer, I don't believe.
Going back to the Undertaker just briefly, he's
Yeah.
done his one-man tour over here, obviously, while they were over for Money in the Bank and SmackDown. People are moaning about the prices of things, but at the end of the day, the man's got to make money still. I don't begrudge him, and the shows were sold out. It was fine. I wanted to take my dad. I need to get my dad. I want dad to meet Undertaker. I really, really do. But people were moaning about it, Mac. But I don't understand it.
I'm curious though, why haven't we seen any of his shows or clips of his shows? I want to see what it is I'm going to pay for before I go in there. What is it I'm paying for?
Yeah,
I know he's probably telling the same stories, but you can let a couple of clips out just so people can get a feel for what the show is. And I have heard people say that the price of those shows is high. And I don't know that he needs the money. And again, I think we're going back to the stock people within the company who own stock. They want to see income, so they're going to charge money as long as they can get it.
Absolutely. With the VIP access, I'd be on Ticketmaster trying to get. I tried loads of times. Obviously, the traffic, and they can only let a certain amount of people through. Those tickets then turned up on eBay, and it was upwards of $800, $900, $1,000. Same for Cena. And I wanted Dad to meet him, but I said, I can't justify it. I'm not paying.
I would not.
Somebody.
There's not a chance in hell I'd pay $1,000 to see any wrestler, anybody. I'm not paying that kind of money. I can see him on TV for free. The hell with that. Just to say, I shook hands with him. No. I like him, but I'm not going to pay $1,000 to shake his hand.
Just like, I suppose, face value with fees and all the bits and bobs. I think it was like $120, probably $130 to meet him. That was what it was. Cena, people bought them to sell them on. That's what they
scalp
did.
them out after they got their tickets.
It's ridiculous. It should be, your photo should be on the ticket, like they've done for other stuff over here, like Glastonbury. Glastonbury, the big festival. Your photo was on that ticket. It can't be resold. I don't know why they don't just implement it. They've got the technology.
I've never heard that before, but that's actually a great idea.
It's Mike Levis who's run it for God knows how many years. It's like our Woodstock, isn't it? If you like, it's still got that pageantry about it. You have a photo on your ticket. Simple, isn't it? Really,
that's cool.
Just do it, and then we won't have all this scalping going on.
Yep, and people won't feel so abused by the prices.
I'm going to go back a little bit here. I've had this man's wife on the show. I've had Barbara Goodish on. What a lady.
You scared me for a minute because you said you had that man's wife.
No. Barbara's lovely, and I won't do a disservice to Barbara. She was absolutely fantastic. It is Frank Goodish, Bruiser Brody, taken far too soon. I'm going back a bit here, Mac, aren't I? What an icon.
Yes.
Your thoughts on Bruiser Brody, man.
Bruiser is one of the original scary son of a bitches that were in wrestling. He would come out. I mean, it wasn't just in the ring where he would scare people. He'd get outside the ring and he would throw things around. The fans would scatter. You don't see that anymore. You see a wrestler going out in the crowd and they're all trying to get up to him and pat him on the back. Nobody was trying to pat Bruiser Brody on the back. They were running for their life if he came out in the audience because they were scared to death, and they had a reason to be. He was a little unglued. There were times when he could be a little bit crazy in the ring, but I had the pleasure, as you mentioned a moment ago, of speaking with his wife, Barbara. I've met her on several occasions at different events. I love Barbara to death, and she tells great stories, and it's so good to see her keeping her husband's memory alive.
Honestly, she's been so kind to me. We've messaged after. Not all the guys. You don't hear off the guys again. There's been a handful. Yourself in that group, but we've been in touch when my son was born and stuff like that. So she just, and like you say, what she can't tell you about Bruiser's career isn't worth knowing, is it? The way she can retell and also him being on the road and her bringing up the son Jeff, just testament to her. What a woman.
Yeah, and it's funny because knowing Bruiser and knowing her, you wouldn't think that those two would be a couple. because she is so sweet and kind, and he is such a nut job, or it was a nut job, when he was in the ring. I mean, that's what we got to see. But it's funny because they really don't look like they would be the perfect couple, but they were.
Would you have got in there with him?
Yeah. I think I would have. I might have gotten scared half to death when I got in there, but I would have got in there. Yeah, just to say I was in there with Bruiser Brody. Oh, hell yes.
If I'd be doing a Lex Luger. I'd be doing one over the top of the cage out of there. That'd be me.
Yeah. Poor Lex didn't know what to think. He was like, "This guy's gonna kill me." He just got the hell out.
He stuck to his guns with stuff as well, with promoters as well, didn't he? I know what happened in Puerto Rico, but prior to that, he stuck to his guns, didn't he? And he looked. I think some people are. He went into business for himself, but no, he was. I think he had the right ethos. Personally.
I think a lot of times that those guys like Bruiser back then were trying to protect their gimmick. And so they may have come across as being a little over the top at times, but that's who Bruiser was. His gimmick was being over the top, crazy, wild man. And so to see that on a regular basis, they had to show that 24/7. Back at that time, this isn't like today when everybody knew, they're just acting. This isn't real, that kind of stuff. Well, back then they protected the business, and everything you saw in the ring is the person they presented outside of the ring if they were in the public. And so, a lot of people may have given him a little bit more of a harder time than he needed. The truth was he was just staying true to his gimmick.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What a man. Now, more current. I'm going to go more current now.
Sure.
The Acclaimed.
I love it. Scissor me, baby.
Bowens. I should have put Daddy Ass in there. Billy Gunn, Monty Stop should have been in there, really. But yeah, just what fantastic. And they shouldn't have had the tag teams taken. The tag title, should I say, taken off him. I was getting a bit caught up there.
Yeah, the Acclaimed. I love the Acclaimed. I love the fact that they're a natural build on TV. They weren't shoved down our throats. They came across as being somebody that the fans took to and grew with this team, and they're just huge now. The whole scissor me thing that they were doing, loved it. Billy Gunn being a part of the group, loved it. Everything about this group is perfect. I just wish they had more TV time than they're getting right now.
And when you're able to go from heel to face, I hate to do wrestling verbiage. Some guys hate it when I go into wrestling verbiage and words and stuff like that. So I'm just, obviously, as a fan perspective, to have the ability to go from a heel team and get yourself over and go face. That's they really grew. They grew on me. They grew on me massively. They really
and they, like I said, they did it without the machine. They did it their own.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually did it themselves.
Where you necessarily wouldn't get that in WWE, and that's not a knock on WWE. I think Tony, they do it differently, as do WWE. I'm not knocking WWE. I don't think would they have had the same, Would they be
they're two different organizations, and you have to be treated different. Tony is one of those that if I were going to work somewhere, I probably would be more inclined to work with somebody like Tony, because I like the atmosphere and the way that he runs his shows. Especially the talent, where the talent's not, going from home on a regular basis like they are in WWE. They actually have time to go home and spend time with their families and then come back and do their job again. And I think that's important in today's wrestling. When you're wrestling every single day, it takes a toll on your body. And it also takes, your lifespan as a wrestler gets shorter and shorter the more matches you're working. So if you're working fewer matches like you are in AEW, the schedule is easier, not just on your mental aspect, but also the physical aspect and being with your family. And I think that's important. That's one of the things I love about AEW. They do seem to care about the wrestlers and their health and their families. And that's big. I've always been a believer that, when it comes to work, it's family first. And I feel like in AEW, Tony feels the same way. Your family comes first. This job comes second.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on Collision? How have you felt? Do you think it supersedes Dynamite as a show now? I know they're going differently. They're filming things and stuff like that. It's very much Raw, SmackDown. You'd get that when they first brought them out, or Nitro and Thunder. How do you feel about Collision, Mac?
I wish Collision was on Wednesday, and I wish Dynamite was on Saturday. That's how I like Collision. I like the feel of Collision. I like the how they're producing and showing it. There are subtle changes between the two programs, and it's very noticeable to me. I think that CM Punk has a lot to do with that on Saturday nights. I think he has a lot of say in that program. And if that's the case, good job, CM Punk, for what you've done so far. I do know that there's a lot of turmoil still going on. He had made some comments about Adam Page just recently. After Collision this past week, he made some comments that didn't go over too well with the Young Bucks and Adam Page. But I'm a little bit, originally when they were arguing, I would actually go, oh man, this is not good. These guys need to get on the same page. I'm not so sure that what we're seeing now from CM Punk is real. I think he may be working the fans a little bit to help bring some of that hatred that was there during that time to the TV screen, and they need to address that situation, because I think their numbers will go through the roof if they start producing segments between CM Punk and the Elite and the hatred they have for one another, because eventually when they get in the ring, fans will want to see what happens. And there is big money still waiting on the table right now for that to happen.
I didn't know about him spraying the belt. That was I wasn't a fan of that. But
one thing I noticed about the belt, it felt very much like the old NWO, where you just, he just made a mess of the belt. But if you notice on the AEW belt, he put the X on the belt, but only over one letter. Did you notice that? The only letter.
No, I'm going to be honest. No, I didn't.
Yeah, he only put that X, only goes over the E, which is the Elite.
Right. Yes.
So I think there's more to that than what we may be seeing. When I first saw it, I was like, he made a point of getting over the top of that E pretty strong. And now I'm thinking that's why it's there. It wasn't to discredit that belt or, tarnish it in any way. It was a way to lay a dig in at the Elite.
Absolutely. Makes sense. I didn't notice it, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get it. Yeah. Stick the knife in. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And then,
turn it a little bit, make it hurt.
Now, these two coming up right now, very current, and obviously got two matches at All In. So they got the pre-show against Aussie Open, and they're also fighting for the title as well. But I just couldn't believe how good it's gone in such a short space of time. Unbelievable. Caught us all off guard, this did. MJF and Adam Cole. Unbelievable. Comedy, everything. It's just everything.
I don't think that there was a plan for that to work as well as it did. I think it's just something that happened, and they're running with it now. And it's one of those things where if you're not running with these two, there's a problem. It's one of the best things in AEW right now. They're hilarious to watch when they get together. The thought of them feuding and breaking up right now bothers me. I think it's too early. Let this roll for a while. Somehow let this story keep going, because it's just too damn good.
For them, Aussie Open haven't had the ROH titles that long over the tag belts, but I think it'll do with the service to them. I think they've got to win those tag belts in the pre-show on the 0 hour. I really do. And
I think they'll win those tag belts, but then I think that Adam Cole could possibly beat. And if that happens, what happens with those two? I still think it's too early for that, though. I don't want to see that happen. No. I'd rather see them win the tag belts. Somehow they still get along at the end of the match between the two of them at the end of the night, and make that a storyline where the friendship continues, but the cracks start showing later on. Like I said, right now they're just too hot. I just don't think you break them up yet.
Like the November pay-per-view, they could well go for another three months before they hit.
Now, one thing I will say about Adam Cole, I want to mention this, and I don't want to catch hell, but I'm sure I will. Adam Cole really needs to get into the gym. It's hard for me to buy into a wrestler who looks like he doesn't have near as much weight as my 14-year-old son. So, he needs to get into the gym and start working out. Maybe there's a reason why he's not growing right now. Maybe there's a medical condition that's causing an issue or something, but I don't understand why he's still so small and skinny. And MJF will make fun of him for that sometimes, but so do the fans. You've got to be believable. Your gimmick has to be believable. If you're going to be a threat against MJF, look like a threat against MJF. And I just don't understand, some of the size issues we have in AEW. They don't need to be monsters, but they need to look like they work out.
Absolutely. Yeah. They bill him as 200 pounds, but is he 200 pounds?
He's probably 150 sopping wet. He looks really, I haven't seen him in person, so I don't know that, but on TV, he looks very light. Because
I've met guys like Austin Aries, and you meet him in person, and you go, oh my word, he's actually bigger than I thought. Seeing a bit like you say, seeing people in person is different. Yeah.
But I do know, just looking at him on TV compared to the other guys. It's like, you go find something to eat.
MJF used his time wisely while he was off. He wasn't a bar build. He wasn't a bar build, was he, by any stretch? But you could tell with that time off, as they did it as a storyline, he was. The gym
he invested in himself.
Yeah.
He took care of himself. He knew that the presentation needed to be there. Carrying a belt around and still being 150 pounds doesn't make you a champion. It makes people scratch their heads going, how did he win the championship? So I think MJF recognized he needed to put some size on him and look more like, a champion. And that's why he changed his body. He got in the gym and started working out. And that's the same thing Adam Cole needs to do. He needs to get in the gym, stay committed to it, put some size back on, and look like a legitimate threat against anybody that you face in the ring.
So on the whole, Mac, you're quite happy with AEW, I can tell.
I am. AEW for me is a refreshing change in wrestling. I watched them more than WWE when they first came out. Now it's kind of 50-50. I'll go back and forth because I like a lot of what's happening on WWE as well. But I still like the excitement and fast-moving feel of AEW. It's still it's that old Nitro feel, which is what I loved. I love WCW Nitro. And so Collision and Dynamite have that feel, which is why I'm attracted to them.
No, it's great. I keep saying absolutely. I've noticed this on interviews.
Absolutely.
Absolutely is my word of choice. I listen back to myself. I'm like, Stu, you've said absolutely an awful lot. And then there'll be another word the next time, Mac. Always comes into my verb.
I have the same problem all the time, Stewie. Don't feel bad.
It's under the microscope myself with every facet of life. I'll like, why have I done that? But yeah, just one of them things. Absolutely. Again, I've said absolutely. And obviously, I'll use obviously now. Just going back, obviously, to the shows. I want you to plug your shows, of course.
Yeah, if you want to catch any of our shows, Road Trip After Hours is a show I do with Teddy Long. And again, that drops every Friday on YouTube at Road Trip After Hours. And you'll find us also on Facebook, Twitter, any of those places at Road Trip After Hours. Then, of course, we have the Wrestling Time Machine, which drops every Wednesday evening and other days of the it's kind of here and there everywhere on Sportskeeda Wrestling. And that's with Bill Apter and Teddy Long and myself. A lot of fun. We talk about different things going on in wrestling, as well as looking back at some of the things from many years ago. It's a lot of fun. And like I say, that's a show where three friends are just sitting down having a good time. These are my two best friends, and it's just a show I enjoy doing very much.
Fantastic, all the work you do. And then we'll put a bit of spotlight on August 26th as well, the event that you're going to be a part of.
Yep, the International... Yep, the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. That'll be in Albany, New York, and it's August 26th at the MVP Arena. Going to be a fantastic night. I'll be hosting with Bill Apter for that show, and I'm looking forward to that event. There's always a lot of fun at those events, meet and greets, and I get some interviews while I'm there, so I'll have some of those as well when I come back, and hopefully we'll have some with Dave LaGreca that I'm looking forward to maybe catching up and talking with him again. I haven't seen Dave since WrestleMania, and he was on stage then. I'm going to tell you a story, Stewie.
Go on,
I have not told this story to anyone.
Oh, I like a scoop.
All right, here's a scoop. I'm at WrestleMania. Dave LaGreca is having his Busted Open show at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Los Angeles. I walk in and I'm in the back and I'm doing some interviews with some other people while he's on stage, and they take a break. And him, Bully Ray, Mark Henry, and some other people are on stage. I asked the security guy, I said, hey, I just want to go up and say hey to Dave. And he goes, yeah, go on ahead, going up there. I start walking up on stage. I don't know what happened. Honest to God, I still don't know what happened. Somehow I ended up getting tripped, and I ran into a table where Mark Henry was, and he had his drinks on this table. I knocked over his drinks onto the floor, down at his feet. And I looked over at him and I was like, man, I am so sorry. I don't know what happened. He didn't even look at me. He looked straight away from me at his son and goes, get me another Sprite. I was like, man, I'm sorry. Let me get that for you. Look at the son again. Get me another Sprite. I thought the man was going to kill me. Absolutely kill me. It was an accident, but I think, now I'll catch hell for this from Bully Ray, but I think Bully Ray bumped me as I was going by the table and made me do that. It may not have been the case, but that's the story and I'm sticking to it.
Oh my word. Oh, but
if you ever want to know what it feels like to make Mark Henry mad, I swear to you, I was dead on the spot when he was there.
Was he okay after with you?
Yeah, he was okay with it afterwards. Yeah. But I plan his son will be there at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame inductions because he's going to induct David LaGreca. And I plan on giving his son a bottle of Sprite to take home to his dad.
Oh my word. Yeah, just so much going on, Mac. That's a bit of me, that event. As much as I like, and I've been to the shows, to wrestling, Hall of Fames and stuff like that, I love it. I love hearing the guys, just like the way they talk and all. It was always my go-to, you know. I got dressed up for the WWE Hall of Fame, you know, made an effort, and they're the nights. And people are like, yeah, but you went for WrestleMania. I love WrestleMania. I just love hearing and just the way it was done and how the International Hall of Fame's done as well.
Yeah, when we were at the WrestleMania this past year, you know, the press box, when because I was able to go up as press into the press box, and they feed you up there. I mean, they got food laid out there, drinks and stuff. You got the best seat in the house, TVs, air conditioning. Brother, I could get used to that. I can get used to that very easy. So I look forward to next year.
Mike was in a box, obviously with Wrestle Tours, because they had all the patrons that they paid to come on, and that's Mike. That job looking after him, and that I couldn't think of a better person. Like the guys who paid to go on Wrestle Tours just had such a blast. It was amazing.
Yeah, Angus was you could tell was very busy, and he was leading a lot of things.
If anyone was meant to do it or be around the business, he's just amazing. Just amazing. Yep. I love him dearly. I really do. Hell of a lad. So yes, Mac, thank you once again for coming on and being the fourth time guest.
4 times. Sorry, Mike. 4 times.
In unison. Then.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Sorry, Mike. That was in unison. But yeah, this has been episode 154 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast with my good
Stu's Wrestling Podcast.
You did that better. Yeah, absolutely. My guest all the way from Savannah, Georgia. I went to Atlanta in 2011. I always say to you, the kindest people down south there in Georgia. We were looked after so well.
Well, we're all melting here now because we have a major heat wave through here right now, and temperature is over in the hundreds. Heat index is around 115, 120. It's hot as hell in Georgia right now.
It sounds like Greece and Spain and all that. They've been hit by it, and it's come your way as well.
Yeah, I mean, you walk outside and you about can't breathe. It's just this hot, still air. It's like, and you just want to go back inside and stay away from it.
I mean, I like heat, but I wouldn't like that.
No. Imagine doing a wrestling match outside in this heat. And there's plenty of groups here in independent wrestling in Georgia that do that. I saw a black mat sitting out. It was a ring with a black mat, and it was out in a parking lot last weekend. And the temperatures were around 100. I can tell you those guys that hit that mat were probably getting burned every time they hit it.
Oh, my God. And this is what people don't realize,
Yeah.
you know, us as fans, we go to it. But like,
Oh yeah, and it takes a lot out of you. I mean, it's hard to go when it's that hot.
Like they talk about cardio in normal environments and stuff, don't they? Now you blow up. You know, I hear it all the time from talents.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, to do it in that heat, and then like you say, the heat off that. Oh my word.
Oh yeah, it's like hitting the top of a roof. You know, you can't sit on a roof. You can't sit on a black tarp either.
Testament to those guys getting in there and doing it for the people that have paid to come and see it. Absolutely. My guest for the 4th time on Stu's Wrestling Podcast, episode 154. It's Mr. Matt Davis from Savannah, Georgia. Mac, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a blast as always.
Thanks, Stewie. I always enjoy it, brother.
Take care, man.